Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another developer Q&A video for Eve Echoes. For those of you who don't know, each week the developers of Eve Echoes, NetEase, take 4 questions posed by the community and respond to them on both the official Twitter page and Facebook page. Now, I'm aware that not everybody has access to social media or wants access to social media, and even those who do may not want to connect it to their favourite video game, so each week I go over those questions and the responses whilst also adding in my own personal thoughts and opinions. Now, first of all, those are my own personal thoughts and opinions. Your mileage may vary. You may have some different thoughts, different opinions, and I would love to hear them in the comment section down below, as long as you're staying polite and friendly about it. I want a discussion, not a flame war. Now, if you have a particular question as well that you want to see answered about the development of Eve Echoes, about some content you think would be really cool, or some questions you have like, is this coming, will that be fixed, let the developers know by clicking into the description down below. There is a link there that will take you through to the Google document where you can ask a question. Now, if your question is one of the ones chosen to be responded to, you will win a month of Basic Omega. Now, with all of that said and done then, let's jump right in to checking out this week's developer Q&A for the week of the 3rd of November to the 11th of November. First question: with ability to have multiple squads in a fleet, would you consider enabling squad approach or warp instead of just fleet warp? Thanks for your advice, says Lance. If the fleet commander could directly operate each squad, it would make the operation interface too complicated. In the current situation, the squad commander taking the role of sending instructions allows each squad to act independently. I was about to say, ultimately, this is something that you can already do. If you really want to have this as a complete thing itself, then set up your fleets independent of each other, and then just have all of those FCs in a conversation, like in a Discord chat or something, with each other as well, so they can decide what they're going to do, and they can move each of their fleets independently. We don't need squad independent control at the kind of detail that's being asked for here. It kind of already exists, and I do agree with Lance that that would heavily clutter up the interface. I don't think I've ever actually done a battle and thought, you know what, I wish I had a bit more control over the independent aspects of the fleet. What you've got to remember is that each of your line pilots is ultimately going to be responding and acting on their own anyway. I feel that sometimes certain people think that a fleet commander should basically just be taking command of absolutely everything, at which point why not give them full control of all the modules as well? And that's kind of defeating the point. You're supposed to be cogs in the war machine. You have your fleet commander who issues the actual commands, and then you yourself follow those. Some of them are automated commands, obviously, but I do agree with Lance that, as I said, that I think the operation interface would be a bit complicated if you start adding too many of these other features that theoretically you can already quite comfortably put together anyway. Question 2. I'd like to suggest that unknown signatures from limited time events like Era Rift and Void Space and any future event to have their own unique identifier that separates them from non-event ones, since going through countless signatures in one system, not knowing which is which, induces madness and robs the fun out of the exploration gameplay. Oh boy, I cannot agree with this more. Thanks for your advice, says Ragnar. When we launch limited time events in the future, we'll make their signatures more distinguishable. Now, I'm kind of in two minds on this. On one hand, yeah, especially with the Era Rifts, my goodness, exploration had just launched. I was going out looking for sites and constantly getting 30 or 40 signals in a system and going, right, okay, I have to scan through every single one of these to figure out if it's an Era Rift, if it's a Dead Space gate, or if it is actually a relic or data site. And you sit there and you go, right, well, there's 30 sites, and all of them would be Era Rifts. Now, obviously, that was, one of those things itself. So, yeah, kind of, I get it. I get the idea of wanting to have, Era Rifts and Void Spaces have their own little icon, so you know that this is an event item, but it does then kind of also take away from how exploration is, if that makes sense. You're scanning down unknown sites. So, there's a part of me that sits there and thinks, actually, I get that this is an interesting idea and it can be infuriating going through that many sites, but I think probably the better way to do it would be looking more at a balance of how many of these different sites are available. I've said before, we need to have relic and data sites be a bit more present the EVE Online system that when a relic or data site is completed, another one of the same type spawns somewhere in the same region of space within 2 minutes, but never in the same system, means that there is always a relic or data site available somewhere for you to find. The issue that we have isn't that, it's just annoying finding these anomalies and sites that are related to events. It's the fact that the event ones are so ubiquitous and the other ones are so rare, and you have to kind of sift through these like ridiculously common items trying to find the rare thing. It's like panning for gold, but with a really crap pan and not much gold at all. And I think that's kind of the better way of doing it. I think that if you changed the icon or something so that you could immediately identify that, oh, you've got 5 anomalies in system, 5 signatures in system, and you can see immediately 4 of them are event signatures, 1 of them is something unknown, you can kind of just go straight to that one, and it does remove a little bit of the fun and sort of the mystery for me. So I get the understanding. I understand why you want this. As I agree, it can induce madness having like 30 era rifts and nothing else in the system, but I think the problem isn't that it's, you can't tell what's an era rift and what's a relic site until you've scanned it. I think it's just the fact that there are 30 bloody, era rifts to go through. That's the issue, that there should never be that many sites in a single system. Moving on to question 3 then, when I can get my phone working on its gallery. Come on. There we go. No idea what happened there. Completely bugged out. Is there any plans to release jump freighters? If not, can we get jump drives on the current freighters to make them a viable option for hauling? Now, again, for those of you who don't know, there are a series of 4 freighters in EVE Online. The Ark, the Rhea, the Arosh, and the Nomad. I think I got those names right. I'm obviously not an industrialist. They look like the standard freighters that we already have, the Tech-9 Capital freighters. So they look like those, but with slightly different colour schemes. So, for example, rather than the Fenrir, the Nomad uses kind of the mottled black and grey and white of the Thucker tribe, for example. The difference between a freighter and a jump freighter is that, as the name implies, jump freighters have jump drives, which means you can jump them to cynosural fields and beacons, just like you can with the new capital ships with dreadnoughts and with carriers. Obviously, I've just done a video on how cynosural fields and beacons and jump drives all work. There's a Catskill Academy video if that was released yesterday, so do check that out if you're curious to know how all that works. Now, of course, this means that freighters can very quickly move around as long as they have a fleet support. It theoretically means if you've got enough fuel to keep jumping, you can actually chain your jumps together over massive distances, and indeed, even if you just have like one friend who's running with the cruiser, it means that that freighter is able to move at the same speed as the cruisers. Now, because obviously the cruiser just moves to a system, activates its beacon, then the capital, the jump freighter jumps to that beacon, then the cruiser moves however many systems on again, activates its beacon again, so you're kind of moving at the same speed as the cruiser. And obviously the cruiser itself has a covert ops cloak, so it can get through gate camps and, all that jazz. Now, Cloud says, we are very sorry, but currently there is no plan to release the jump freighters, nor to equip freighters with jump engines. And I'm 100% behind that. My initial gut reaction when I first read this question was, oh, that's sad, I kind of wish that they were going to be adding those. Then I stopped and went, why? What purpose would they actually serve right now? The only thing that you are going to do with a jump freighter is move from null to null, because you can't use jump drives in HiSec. In fact, they can't enter HiSec, so you're going to be moving from low-sec to null-sec, and there just isn't a demand for hauling through low-sec and null-sec like that. It just kind of sets up a situation where, oh, we're going to build all of the stuff that we want to in nullsec, we're going to jump through to the lowsec gates, and then swap it over to actual, standard haulers at that point. It kind of removes a lot of stuff. In EVE Online, there's systems to counter all of this kind of stuff, and there is a reason for having that kind of gameplay. In EVE Echoes, we just don't have the support structures underneath it. There's no demand for this kind of thing, and adding it would ultimately take away a lot of the hauling capabilities for nullsec anyway. There's not really much hauling goes on in nullsec, compared to sort of like the AFK HiSec hauling and delivery and stuff like that, but there's just no demand for jump freighters, and if they were to be added, it takes away that whole thing of having to, make an escort through nullsec to get to lowsec and then eventually up to HiSec. I kind of get why they don't want to add them yet. No plans, by the way, does not mean that they will never come. It just means that it's not something that's on the to-do list yet. Or if it's on the to-do list, it's like right at the bottom. Like, we don't have any plans to actually start working on this. So never say never, but not soon. Finally, question 4. Trainer ships are a great idea and allow players who may not be skilled high enough or at the proper tech level to enjoy echoes by allowing for better ships with a low risk when getting blown to bits. But it seems that this mechanic has been exploited by nuisance gangs that swarm null in trainers, hoping to get a big kill with very little risk, and also driving up the prices for trainers on the market. Is there any chance that NetEase would consider not allowing trainer ships into Nullsec? And this is the question that induces rage in me, and we'll discuss that in a moment. Let's see what Lance says first of all. Thank you for your advice, he says. Trainers being used for PvP in Nullsec is indeed a situation that players will exploit to loot at a low cost. We will consider whether to restrict such ships of a fixed IP from PvP behaviours in Nullsec. And no, I really disagree with this, and I hope that they go, well, we considered it, and the answer is no. Because there's a couple of problems with this. And remember, before people start going, oh, it's Benzie just defending his playstyle. I don't fly trainers in PvP in Nullsec, like seriously. I don't do that. I know people who do, and it's a completely valid tactic. But let's break down the question, because I read this and it comes across as someone who is bitter and looking at a way to defeat their opponent by basically getting the developers to change it for them. And I really hate that kind of attitude. Anyway, so they are quite right that trainer ships are a great idea and allow players who may not be skilled or high enough or at the proper tech level to try better ships with a low risk for getting blown to bits. I don't get why they say, oh, they're great for people who have low skills and try something with better ships. The trainers are never better than the standard. Look at the Talwar trainer compared to the Talwar. Look at the Thrasher trainer special compared to the Thrasher. Look at the Thorax trainer to the Thorax. There is no trainer ship that is better than its standard version. The second thing that really stood out to me here is that this idea, driving up the prices for trainers on the market, and with fear of, swearing again in a video, that's utter bullshit. Trainers are seeded on the market. NetEase set the prices for those, not players. Players can't build trainers. You cannot build them. They don't exist as blueprints. There is no blueprint for a trainer anywhere. They are seeded on the market, and yes, I'm well aware that, for example, the Rupture trainer costs more than a Rupture tends to. That is a weird situation, and that theoretically is something that NetEase should have sorted out a long time ago. But to sit there and say, oh, they're driving up the prices for trainers on the market. No, they're not. The prices are set, and you can't tell me. Don't hide behind this idea of, oh, I'm worried about the market. No, it's not. You use gangs like words like nuisance gangs, get a big kill with very little risk, and then you're hiding behind the idea of, oh, it hurts industry, because that's the popular thing to, get people on your side. If you've got an opinion and you can prove that it hurts industry, it's a great way to get upvotes on Reddit. Now, so first of all, trainers are not set by industry, they're set by the game. The cost of them is set by the game. Yes, they're very easy to, go off killing with and to then just, ensure back. But you know what? You need a big fleet of trainers. If you see a fleet of 30 people jump into your system, then you might think to get to some safety ahead of time. And if they happen to catch you, well, that's on you. You're in Nullsec. If you honestly are getting caught by a fleet of trainer destroyers or trainer cruisers, just, Jesus, come off it. Next thing we're going to get is someone saying, oh, the Thrasher 2 is used in swarm tactics. Please nerf this and remove it from the game. The Stabber Fleet issue is too cheap for, where does the complaining stop on this? Like, seriously, a trainer Rupture is more expensive than a Stabber Fleet issue. And a Stabber Fleet issue is a hell of a lot better in PvP. Ask Vetamune, for crying out loud. Look at that guy's kills in that. Same with the Thrasher 2. I would rather fly a Thrasher 2 than try and build try and source a whole load of Thrasher special trainers. Or even the Talwar rather than a Talwar trainer. I even had Vassetti send me some beautiful screenshots just this morning of killing off interceptors and some really quite high level ships using a single tier 3 Dragoon, or tier 4 Dragoon. Anyway, a basic Dragoon, not a Dragoon 2, not anything like that, just a Dragoon. So you can get these kind of kills in any ship that you like, and I'm sorry, it just gets me so angry that you're hiding behind this whole thing of industry. You look like an idiot for saying that now that I've explained that actually they're seeded on the market. It's just complaining that you haven't figured out how to deal with an entire fleet of trainer ships rocking up in your system, and that you're bitter that you're out there in Nullsec and you're losing whatever it is you're losing to trainer fleets. Like, seriously, get better. And if you're out in Nullsec, then you should have friends and that around you. So if they've seen a fleet of 30 trainer ships moving, you might think that someone said in Alliance chat, hey guys, there's an entire fleet of trainer ships coming our way. Do be aware that if you're in this sort of region, there are ships nearby, and you might think to get to safety. Stop blaming the game, stop taking out different tactics just because you haven't figured out how to handle them. Get good, son. Anyway, that really does wrap things up for this week's developer Q&A. I'm trying not to rage too much on that one. It just makes me so angry. It's the whole thing of, like, using the... You know, why can people scan me down? You haven't figured out the counter to something, even though I've made videos on this kind of stuff, so you're complaining that the game's broken and needs fixing, rather than you yourself as a player just going, oh, right, okay, here's how to handle it. Anyway, folks, that is everything I wanted to talk about in today's Q&A. Those are the 4 questions. Please do let me know your thoughts and opinions on these in the comment section down below. And if you want to side with the guy who's like, oh, well, actually, you know, yeah, I do get the whole thing about trainer fleets, seriously, get better. Anyway, folks, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.